Good morning, you guys. So, I've been having this thought lately that I figured I'd come on here and share with you guys. And it's come up a few times recently in conversation as well. It's kind of funny how things like that work. You start fixating, thinking on something, and it just starts coming up, right? But the basically the what I'm going to talk about today is at some point, like for most of us, right, when we start off on any type of journey, whether that's a fitness journey or a financial journey, building a business or excelling in a career or whatever it is, usually we start off from a place of lack, right? Of a rock bottom. Like for me, when I started my fitness journey, it was from a place of rock bottom. I was in a terrible, terrible place. Um, Complete alcoholic, losing everything. Like it was just, I had no choice but to change myself physically, right? Um, and a lot of the times, like if financially, it's the same thing. We're in a place of rock bottom, and we have no choice but to just go all in and figure it out, and we become successful that way. But at some point, you get to a spot where you've already done a ton, you've made a ton of progress, and you're in a spot where most people don't have a reason to climb any higher or do any more, right? And I started thinking about this a lot because I was having a conversation with a guy in my DMs, and he's a business owner and he's in really good shape, and he sent me a picture of his physique because we were talking about getting him dialed in more, and the guy looks great. He looks great, but he's extremely hungry still. He's not satiated, and just having this conversation with this guy had me fired up, right? um, and I think what that is, or we get, I guess what we get to this point where it's okay to no longer have an extreme why. It's okay to get to a point of success where you no longer have that, like, well, if I don't change this, everything falls apart. If I don't do this, my life ends. If I don't do this, I can't pay my bills. It's okay to get out of that point and start operating from a place of, I said I was gonna fucking do it, so I'm doing it. There's no other option because I said it, right? And most people don't have that gear. So you should take that as like a blessing, honestly. If you are blessed with that attribute, with that trait of feeling that way, then you should really utilize it. Because for me, like right now, physique wise, financially, I'm at a place where, like, it almost for most people wouldn't make sense to like continue working harder, continue grinding harder, and like pushing myself to the limits that I push myself to. But I said that I was going to achieve certain levels, and I'm going to achieve certain levels. I'm not at the point anymore where I have to do it out of necessity. I'm at the point now where it's like, I said I was gonna fucking do this shit. There's no way that I'm not gonna do it, right? And that's such, for me personally, I feel like that's such a cool thing to have ingrained inside of us, to be able to operate from a place like that. For one, because your mindset while operating becomes slightly different. It's no longer out of like fear. You're no longer fearing what's going to happen if you don't do it, which I feel like that's always going to be there as well. Like that's always in the back of my mind of like, fuck, if I don't do this, dude, I could go back to zero. I don't ever want that. But you stop operating out of such fear and you start operating out of more like, this shit is dope. Let me see what all I can do. Let me see how far I can push this, right? Sorry, quick coffee break there. And once you get to that point, I feel like it unlocks a new level because you're operating from abundance, which this sounds so fucking cliche and hippie shit, but you're operating from abundance rather than lack. I can't think of the term that I'm looking for right now. But you're operating from abundance, and when you do it that way, and when you realize what you can do, when you start realizing the potential that you do have, bigger things start happening faster, right? And you make this really cool progress. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, it's okay if you feel like you've lost your why, right? Because our why is going to change all the time. It's okay if you feel like you no longer have like a legitimate reason to keep going. It's okay to be the person that just does it because you said you were going to. And that leads me into my next point, which is keeping the promises to yourself is going to be what, if you keep the promises you make to yourself, you're going to trust yourself enough to take bigger risks. Okay? Most people never keep the promises they make to themselves. They start losing all credibility and respect for themselves. And then they never accomplish the things that they want to accomplish. Now, when you keep the promises you make to yourself, you register that as trust and credibility in yourself. And in doing so, your brain makes it a lot easier for you to take bigger risks. And when you take bigger risks, you make bigger wins, right? If you are in any type of business or career growth or whatever, you understand this for sure. And it's really the same thing with fitness too, honestly, because sometimes you just got to fucking go all in and just trust that it's going to happen for you, right? But keep those promises you make to yourself, even when they feel like they're pointless, right? Like you have to continue on and keep those promises you make so that you continue building that credibility and trust with yourself. Most people are going to tell you the opposite, right? And this is why you're different than a lot of people, but most people are going to tell you once you get to a certain point, like once you have a good physique or once you're making a good amount of money, people are going to try and talk you into taking a break. Like they're going to try and talk you out of working harder. They're going to say, it's okay, dude, it's okay. You did it. Like you can let off the gas. You can take a break. You can have this piece of pizza. You can have this beer. You can take a day off. And it's like, look, with all due respect, because you obviously don't want to just be a dickhead to everybody. But if you look at those people, you look at their lives, and you don't want exactly what they have, you don't need to give what they're saying really any type of value or weight. And I'm not saying that you need to be an asshole, of course not. But like I said, most people feel that way. Most people will achieve a small amount of success and coast the rest of their lives there. But for a small percentage of people like us, I suppose, it's never going to be enough. And contrary to what most people think about that feeling of never having enough, never doing enough, never being enough, I feel like that's our fucking superpower. I feel like that's what separates us from the masses. I feel like that's why we accomplish shit that we want to accomplish. And as much as there's times where I wish that I could be the other person, where I wish that I could just be completely content with everything all the time and, experience joy in the little tiny wins and little, I just, honestly, I'm grateful that I'm not. I'm grateful that I have this shit inside of me. I'm grateful that I always feel like I'm behind. I'm grateful that I'm always stressed. I'm grateful that I always feel like I need to do more, like I always need to climb higher. I'm grateful for this because it's going to allow me to reach my full potential in life and get to my deathbed and feel like I actually gave it my all and I found out what all I can do. Because the last fucking thing on earth that I want is to get to my deathbed, be laying there and questioning my life, questioning what I did, what I could have done, who I could have been, the levels that I could have reached, the time that I could have spent in certain places, the health that I could have achieved, the physique. I would hate to lay there and question that. I refuse to do it. And I'll kind of leave you guys on this. I heard I don't know if it was a quote or what it was one time, but somebody said, what I think hell is, this might have been Tim Grover, I'm not sure. What I think hell is dying, getting to the afterlife, and having to meet the version of yourself that you could have been, but you weren't. And when I think about that, when I really get to the end of life and having to meet that person, the full potential version of myself, I want to be at least pretty fucking close. I don't want to get to the point of like, damn, dude, I could have been all that. I don't want that at all. So, just kind of a rant today because it's been heavy on my mind. I actually laid in bed thinking about this shit all night last night. But yeah, man, you don't always need an exact reason. You don't always need a why. You don't always need some crazy form of motivation like, rock bottom. You don't. It's totally okay to just decide that you're the motherfucker that's going to outdo everybody all the time. It's okay to be that way. It's okay to operate that way. It's why you are where you are, and it's why you are who you are. So don't ever lose that and use it to your advantage. All right, I'll see you guys.